Hello, this is my audience. Hello, my name is Braxton Dawson, and I'll be talking to you today about Mahatma Gandhi. Gandhi was born in 1869 and passed away in 1948. He is known primarily for his non-violent methods of protest, where his main aspects of his work were in South Africa, also India, and also had a march called the Salt March, which was around the Arabian Sea. First, I will talk to you about his work in South Africa. Gandhi graduated a lawyer but struggled to find work in India, to which he moved to South Africa to try to find more work, but was quickly realized that South Africans were very biased to discrimination against the Indians. He was also in a courthouse where there was a force to remove his turban, which he refused to move his turban, and so they kicked him out, and that was what sparked kind of his way of protesting against the discrimination. He's also another instance when he was on a train, he had a first-class ticket, and one of the South African white people wanted his seat. He refused and was escorted from the train because he did not move to the back of the train. Because of this, he formed the NATA Indian Congress, which was set to help fight for the Indians in that country. A bill was set before them to hinder the right to vote for the Indians, which Gandhi, of course, could not do anything about this. What he could do was draw attention to the problem. He moved back to India for a short trip, knowing he had to go back to South Africa. When he got back to South Africa, he raised a corps for equal rights of Indians. This sparked his first act of disobedience. He peaceful protest for years. He gained many followers protesting with him, which led for him to be in prison along with hundreds of his followers. And eventually, after all this protest, they compromised and they recognized the Hindu marriages. They let the Hindus start getting married, and they also abolished the poll tax on the Hindus. So it was very great for them. Another aspect of his accomplishments was his help in getting India's economic freedom. This is also where he got his nickname Mahatma, which translates to great one, great souled one is how that translates. His real name was Mohandas, but people go by Mahatma. He turned the movement into an organization with the help of the National Indian Congress he'd already founded, and he started off by leading boycotts of the British manufacturers. He wanted, instead of the Indians buying the British goods, he wanted them making their own, saving their money and not paying the upcharged prices they were charging them. And the movement ended when the peaceful protest turned violent. His whole point was to keep the protest civil, no violence. If you break the law, you do your time, and that was his way of protesting. Gandhi was arrested because of this, because he led those people who got arrested and broke the law, but he was soon released because he had appendicitis and had to get surgery on it, which let him go. After this, he refrained from politics for years because of his surgery and also because he was arrested. His third and final biggest accomplishment was called the Salt March. The Indians were unable to collect salt for themselves under the British rule. They had to buy it from the British on a heavy upcharge with a stiff tax, which really hurt the Indian poor people. They could not afford to pay it. So he set out with followers to the Arabian Sea in hopes of getting the salt from the sea, which was against the law, and they knew that. But of course, their peaceful ways, they were just going to do it and then serve their time. He collected many followers along the way, actually tens of thousands of followers along the way. So he was very well respected, and people trusted him in his cause. The morning of the march, he led prayers before going into the march to a very religious man. Was another reason why people liked him and trusted him so much. And before they could get to the Arabian Sea, the police at the time knew they were coming and walked around the Arabian Sea, the part of the Arabian Sea where they were going to, and stomped all the salt into the mud, trying to stop them from doing what they were going to do. So when they got there, of course, they saw that, and Gandhi did not let that stop him. He reached down in the mud, picked up some of the salt deposits that were there, and that broke the law there, and he got in trouble for that too. It was that point where the British government recognized him as a force. We take salt for granted. We buy it at the store, it's very cheap, but it was a huge part of their culture, as part of their food. They used salt in everything, so it was a big deal to them. So this is when the British government recognized him as a powerful force, and they knew they had to compromise because he had a huge following. And a few years later, they granted them independence, which is what they wanted. They're free from the British. And then, unfortunately, a couple years later, he was assassinated by a radical. Thank you.